there's some big changes coming to Destiny 2. I've been a big Destiny fan since it came out, since I got my hands on it. And that's why we've kind of been, or me personally, I haven't been wanting to talk too much about Destiny on this podcast because I feel like I could talk for hours about it. So we've been kind of like avoiding a lot of the big Destiny stories that have been kind of happening, but I feel like this is a good time to chime in.
It is.
So they canceled their live stream that was supposed to be showing off a lot of the weapons and gear that's going to be coming out with Curse of Osiris here next week. And it was the last...
Osiris, that's right.
Right, it comes out on the 5th. But they canceled their live stream so that they could focus on a kind of open letter to the fans and the people that have been playing Destiny, both vocally upset and the silent minority. But
it's not majority, yeah.
No, it's a pretty silent minority at this point. There's a lot of vocal people on the internet. And it's the people that are enjoying it that aren't saying anything, but there's a lot of people on the internet that aren't happy with the state of Destiny 2.
I see what you're saying. Right. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so we got some words from the game devs that were just kind of like an overall, hey, this is what's kind of happening. This is kind of what they plan. Yeah. And a lot of... They ended all by saying, we know it's frustrating when there isn't enough of a dialogue between the development team. You have our commitment that we're going to do a better job looking forward. And I get that. Because we know that Destiny 2 launched for console way before it did for PC. It came out like a whole month in advance to the PC release. That being said, Bungie hasn't made a PC game in a long time, right? I think it was Halo 1. Yeah, Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
Was the last time they actively worked on, and I think that was just a PC port of the console game.
It was a port.
Yeah.
It was a port. Yeah, I mean they added some stuff,
right?
But yeah, it doesn't. That's not. They haven't built a PC game from the ground up, which this was Destiny 2.
Yeah, kind of. They were working with another studio to really like fully flush out. So, I mean, they kind of have their engine, and then they adapted both versions of the game to kind of, like, meld together. So, a lot of the stuff that happened in, like, the console side, they kind of tried to do to keep in mind that there's PC players coming in. And, of course, you know, on consoles, you're locked to 1080-30, and on PC, you can play 4K uncapped frame rates. So
unlimited, yeah, exactly.
But that being said, I think that the new direction that they're going to be taking here in the future is good, because I think the biggest issue since launch is that they haven't said anything to us. For the whole first month after release, which, I mean, come on, I felt like it was ridiculous to start asking for patches a month in anyways. Like, you guys have really... I just feel like to the people that were complaining at that point in time, it was the YouTubers, it was the Twitch streamers, it was the people that were kind of making their living off of Destiny, right? And I hate that for them, right? Like, I hate that you kind of ran out of stuff to do and you felt bored because there wasn't enough incentive in that kind of thing, but they wanted to dial it back and give a more casual, at least vanilla experience to the people that don't have a whole lot of time to commit to the game. People like my brother, who is a dad of 2, and he's a teacher, and he maybe gets like 3 or 4 hours a week to commit to Destiny. As somebody, I'm using him as like kind of the microscope, right? Or the microcosm, I guess, for the people...
Of the casual.
Right, of the casual gamer that doesn't have all week to commit. I mean, I took a week off, which turned out really to be like 10 days off from work, and I blew through my first character, got through it, did a lot of stuff. I participated in the raid race. I was on par with the guys that won up until we got to like the 3rd challenge, and then we just couldn't get we had this random dude in our group who couldn't get his head around it, but we I got through it pretty fast, and I understand where that kind of concern was for those Twitch guys and the YouTubers out there, but at the same time, it's a game. They wanted to make a game that you could set down and come back to later. And that's what I did. Once I finished it and I felt like I had completed everything that I wanted to, I stepped back. I started playing other things. I mean, you guys have heard what I've been playing on a week-to-week basis. And now, like, I have Horizon. I'm, like, excited to play through this. But then next week when Curse of Osiris comes out, I'll probably put that down and go back to Curse of Osiris until I'm done with it. And I felt like a lot of that kind of on the front end kind of started making a lot of people sour and salty. And
it seems like it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I'm rambling here a little bit, but I'm kind of upset with the state of the community right now. Like,
well, if I can play devil's advocate for a second, I guess there's a couple arguments I think that people have made that I've read about. Well, I would say one, though, for the patching right away, I mean, in today's day and age, games are patched just like day one patches.
Which they did have to fix bug fixes and things.
Okay, so they did have that, but I see what you mean. They wanted content patches right off the bat.
Exactly. They wanted changes to, like, they wanted weapon balance changes within a month when the PC hadn't even come out yet.
Yeah. Right, okay, so that's right. Okay, that I can understand being a little bit like, yeah, I can understand that. I think that's being a little bit too quick, but like you said, I guess that's the community, the hardcore community who was the type of people who Destiny's the only game they play, and they play it every day, for a couple hours a day. That's their
right. That was their bread and butter. That was their moneymaker.
Right,
they had content.
Right, exactly. I think,
yeah,
and those people are the ones who feel like, oh, well, we're not getting that like weekly content that we would have been getting before. So I think for them, they were probably just worried, looking at it like, oh crap, is it going to be like this for forever? And is there really not going to be this like really fleshed out end game? Is it going to be a much more casual experience, I guess? Right. And it seems, based on the criticism and everything, the hardcore community is the community for Destiny. That is by far its biggest community. I don't think they did reach out. I don't think Destiny 2 has reached that other more casual community that they'd kind of hoped to grab.
I mean, they have, because I do have a lot of more casual friends that I have been able to hop in and play with. And they've been enjoying it, and they've played through it all, and they've had a good time with it, but
obviously that's not a big enough portion of people for them to not have to address these issues and make the changes that they're making now, right? I mean, they wouldn't be in this place, they wouldn't be in this current situation if that group had been as big and as influential as maybe they had previously hoped they would be.
Right, but I mean, they made more strides to make the more casual players accepted, because I feel like towards the end of the Destiny 1 lifespan, there was a lot of people that they would like pick it up because it was on sale or something, and then they would jump in, and then they had all this content thrown at them and no one there to tell them what to do, and they were just kind of lost, right? And like I get it for those people, because it is kind of like, I remember having, when I switched from 360 to PS4 and I had to redo everything all over again, and that to me was overwhelming. There was a lot of stuff that I had to get through, and it doesn't really tell you what order to go in, so storylines get all confused, and then you're kind of like, unless you played it as it was being released, you kind of didn't really know what was going on.
I think to that point, just so I can add in there, when I got Destiny 1 originally, because I got it when Taken King came out, or a little bit after that, I agree with you. Honestly, I could, at the time, I could care less about any of the story or anything, because like you said, you get thrown in and you're just kind of like jumping from this to that. Yeah. And there's no like, it didn't have like a really, set linear pathway to get to the end game.
So with Destiny 2, they've done a lot more to add like clan functionality in game, even for people that don't have it. They added in the guided game, so they're kind of trying to cater more to these casual players. They've made it so you can level from 0 to 305 just by playing the game. You don't have to have a group of 6 to do raid content when you don't know anybody that plays the game. And like, even now, if you want to do the raid, it's there, it's available. You can guided games and get in and run it with strangers. But who knows? They might be really cool guys, and then you join their clan, and boom, you got a clan.
Well, then, could I ask this question to you? With Destiny 1, when it originally came out, when it first vanilla originally came out at launch, did you think it was too much when you first started?
No.
Was it too much thrown at you?
Which I actually started during Dark Below, which was like the first expansion, right? And to me, it felt very succinct. And I actually enjoyed the storyline because, okay, they introduced the Hive, but then you go from the Hive over to Venus, and then you don't see him again for the rest of the story, right? As soon as Dark Below came out, it gave the rest of that Hive story that you needed. It flushed that out more. It kind of showed you who was in charge of the Hive. Then you go and fight him. That being said, it wasn't very cinematic, and unless you were reading Grimoire or really like paying attention and talking to people about it, you probably missed some things. Because they didn't do really. That was back before they were doing all the cinematic trailers and everything. You just kind of had to listen to the mission dialogue and kind of put it together yourself. But see, that's what I wanted to get to was, okay, let's compare Vanilla Destiny
to
Vanilla Destiny 2. I think everybody's got this whole like idea in their head of what, you know, Destiny was after Rise of Iron, what they played through all the way up to the Dawning, which happened December of last year, before the like the end of its lifespan, right? This is literally the birth of Destiny 2, right? We're seeing that first year of Destiny 2. And I remember when I got Destiny during Dark Below, it still kind of felt like, okay, we had 2 raids to do. The Crucible was kind of fun, but I only played it when I ran out of content to do. There were still enough weekly activities, and like you wanted to do the Nightfall and you wanted to do strikes because the rewards were like worth it, right? And that is, I think, where the issue is between Vanilla Destiny and Destiny 2, is that a lot of the rewards you get don't feel like you did anything for it. It was like, I remember when I got my first Gallahorn in Destiny 1, because that was like everybody needed a Gallahorn, right? For those of you that didn't play and didn't know. Like, you would go onto LFG sites looking to join someone's raid, and then every single post said, you must have Gallahorn. You must have Gallahorn. And so I remember when I finally found mine, I got it after I had done the vanilla raid my second time. The first time I got an icebreaker, and that was crazy, because that was a sniper that never ran out of bullets.
Yeah, that is.
But then, the second time I got a Gallahorn, and everybody in my party started freaking out. And I'm like, whoa, I don't even know what this gun is. What is it? And there were some people that went, a full 2 years before they even got one.
Well, okay, but I guess so. Then the question,
getting back to
is
Destiny
like,
2.
Destiny,
yeah.
Right.
You don't get that excitement because everything's tokens. So you do an activity, you get a bunch of tokens. Maybe you'll get some basic little drops from the ads you kill. But then you take the tokens and you go talk to a guy and you turn the tokens in. You never get that instant excitement of, oh man, I just found this gun from doing this one activity. No, you do the activity and you get tokens and then you turn the tokens in. And it's the same thing. So it's like...
And it's the same gun no matter what.
Right. There's no story behind it, right? It's not like, oh man, we did the raid and it was this whole like ordeal and we had one guy that couldn't do the jumping puzzle and blah blah blah, a lot of that, like even like my dark hammer that my black hammer that I got from doing Crota, like I had a whole story behind that of how I got it and how we lost like 4 people because people got in a fight in the middle of our raid, and then when we finally built it back up and did the run, I got a black hammer out of it and it was really nice and I was glad to have that. And so like you have these stories kind of tied with your gear, and that in Destiny 2 you don't get, because it's like, oh yeah, I ran the raid, I got a bunch of tokens, I turned them in, and I got this gun.
And it doesn't sound like the fixes that they're bringing will really meet that.
Right.
It sounds like the fixes, well, we could talk about it in a second, but so that what you really appreciated about that was that there was a story, that there was a particular mission that you had to go through to get these particular items.
Yeah.
So from what I've read, from what I understand, the way they're changing it in Destiny 2 to make it feel more worthwhile to keep doing this is that they're adding RNG stats to the weapons. Right,
with the whole masterwork weapons, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's cool because they're going to be re-rollable stat bonuses.
Exactly, yeah.
Which are interesting, but I still feel like it's not going to be enough because they did that before. right? They had what was it? It was when Taken King came out. You could take it to the gunsmith and you could re-roll your guns until you found like the roll that you wanted on it. You just paid so many of this currency, and then you basically just reformed your gun. It was the same gun with different stats.
So are they doing that with? Is it just like you have whatever currency and do it, or you have to go and do a specific thing to get a specific type of currency to be able to re-roll?
From what I understand, it's a little bit of both. So you'll be able to get your legendary masterwork weapons from anywhere that you currently get legendary weapons. So I feel like it's still going to be off of the token system.
Yeah.
Because it's really the only place you get them now. But I do feel like it's going to be nice because, okay, now I have 3 Uriel's gifts right now, right? I have one of each element. But besides that, they're all the exact same gun.
Right.
I have one that's fire or solar, I have one that's arc, and then I have one that's void. But aside from that, there's no reason for me to use any one except for, I'm going to this fight and this boss has a flame shield.
Arc.
Right.
It'd be nice to be able to be like, I'm going to this fight and this one does like crit bonuses or whatever.
Right.
I don't know what stats it is, but
well, that being said, like they're kinetic. Okay, so any 2 kinetic guns are going to be the exact same. There's no change you could put on it. At least as far as right now goes.
Oh.
Right. So
it does really feel like if you get a duplicate gun, it's worthless.
Right. You just end up sharding it or whatever because there's no reason to have more than one gun. And when you continuously get the same drops from the gunsmith or your token vendors, it gets really frustrating because you're looking for like this one gun that everybody's using in the Crucible, except you can't get it to drop and you keep getting repeats of everything else you had. And there's no it really limits the weapon diversity.
So yeah, that's what I was wondering about this, or I'm just thinking about it. What I don't understand is why they didn't go with you've played Diablo 3, I presume, or even just Diablo. Why wouldn't they go with a Diablo 3 style, like current Diablo 3 style loot system, where it's like you get these really impressive RNG drops, and sometimes when it might be the same item, but the stats are completely different on it. Like the skin's the same, fine, and it's got the same name, but all the stats are completely different on it. I don't understand why they wouldn't do something like that, so that there is this like element of like, I want to get this particular stats for this gun, so I'm going to keep running this raid until I get those stats, or until I get stats like that, or something like that. I feel like that would add a depth to the game,
and that's something I don't really understand either. I don't know why they moved away, because they kind of did that with Destiny 1, right?
Or like like Borderlands. Yeah, again, like that's the like Borderlands people. A lot of people will throw out that it's got a Borderlands style to it,
and it
Destiny
does.
1, and it's like it does, and that's cool.
Well, I feel like with Destiny 1, the stats on the guns were the same, right? But you had perk trees.
You're right,
and those perk trees would change depending on the drop, and that was the RNG aspect to the gun. That being said, it was. I think they saw it as a bad thing, but it was something that we, as the players, really enjoyed because it gave us something to hunt. Right?
Exactly.
It made it take longer for us to find that perfect.
Right, and not everyone wants the same stats. That's another thing that I think. It sounds like in Destiny 2, and I'm sure there was elements of this in Destiny 1. It's like everyone wants to have the exact same guns because they're just the best guns. The meta is like, here's the best guns.
Well, in Destiny 1, it would be like, you need to have this gun with these perks, right? But now it's turned into, since everything is static roll, you just need this gun because it has these perks. That's why it turns into this one gun meta now.
Yeah.
When it used to be, there's a couple different options, but these guns would all have the same archetype. And you'd at least see a little diversity. Where now it's like I go into a Crucible match, someone's using a Uriel's Gift, someone's using a Last Hope, someone's using a Mida Multi-Tool, and all of these things are all gonna. It's like
they're all the same.
Yeah, it's the same. You see the same things popping up consistently,
and that's like I just feel like it's a missed opportunity to me.
Yeah.
They should have expanded the unique perk trees and the uniqueness of each weapon, not retracted it. Like that I don't really understand is why wouldn't you make that a huge part of it? It's Destiny. I feel like that's part of what the appeal of the game is, is
put
this,
that
like,
carrot on a stick and dangle it
Diablo
so that people have
FPS.
to go track it down.
Yeah. It's like a dungeon crawler FPS. That's kind of the appeal of it. And
well,
it feels
what they wanted to do was add the mod system, which was a really great idea in theory, except for the fact that it doesn't add a whole bunch of diversity right now. That being said, they are making changes to the mod currency to make it more interesting and impactful, and that's something that I feel like needs to happen. And again, I feel like this is the first big update to Destiny, so a lot of the stuff that people are complaining about now is going to be fixed. The mod thing is one of them. So now you get to pick what perks you put on it, right? Except for, and that is what made me excited about it when it came out. It was like, okay, instead of now having to hunt down every single gun that I want, say I already like this gun, I can put a mod in it until I found the best mod that I want to go into it, switch that out later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it makes it so you're not like, oh, I found this gun but it doesn't have the right perks, let me just throw it away. And that was kind of what Destiny 1 kind of turned into.
Right.
But
so I guess my question to you would be: do you think that the changes that Destiny has presented, the masterwork weapons, the mod changes, I guess they're also adding armor ornaments. So I guess you can change the way your armor looks.
Yeah, and they had that in Destiny 1, and they had weapon ornaments in Destiny 1 as well, and they still have those in Destiny 2. They just hadn't gotten around to the armor ornaments, and we all figured it was a matter of time.
That was a planned kind of. Yeah. So I guess the big question is the big changes, like the mods and the new stat system. Do you think that this will be enough to kind of sedate some of the criticism that's coming at Destiny? Is it a kind of we'll have to wait and see, or do you think that this is not going to go far enough and that there's still going to be some more pretty substantial changes to come if they want to get the community like fully behind them again?
I feel like this is definitely a step in the right direction. I think the people that are still upset with Bungie, they need to step back and like realize that this is still a vanilla version of the game, and that it's going to take time. I keep putting the timestamp of it's going to be September of next year before this game is where we all feel like it should be, and then they're going to come out with the next big DLC like they did with Taken King, and then it's going to change the game up a good bit. And then people are going to have different things to complain about. So, whatever, it's fine right now. I think the Masterwork weapons is interesting because it will change perk or stats. I don't know what that is supposed to be, because the only thing we've seen is a Uriel's gift with 10 reload speed on it.
Okay.
And it says this weapon generates orbs on multi-kills and displays the number of enemies defeated by using it. So I don't know what all is going to be included with the Masterwork system. I don't know. I need to see more of it, and that's kind of why I was hoping to see the live stream on Wednesday. That never happened because they're now having to address everybody complaining about things.
Oh, the criticism, yeah.
Right. But I definitely think the Masterwork system is a step in the right direction. It gives people a carrot to chase. It gives them more diversity. I do want to hear more about some of these changes to the prestige activities, because they just said we're targeting a January update to better incentivize completion of prestige activities. They are bringing private matches to the Crucible. This is something that we needed to see to be able to like kind of launch the tournament scene if they're trying to do that, which it seems like they're still trying to kind of add this MLG style gaming experience with the Crucible. And I feel like the reason they held it off is because they didn't want people to start throwing tournaments before PC even got a chance to shine. 2, they wanted to make sure everything was tuned and balanced before they started opening it up for tournaments.
Makes sense.
And 3, they wanted to be able to implement any fixes into weapon balance and everything before the game, took off and started having tournaments and things. So I figured it was coming. I didn't know how long. That's actually sooner than I expected, so good move on them. I mean, there's going to be better rewards for strikes, adventures, and lost sectors. Now, those are kind of the things that you do on a weekly basis. You kind of go, you do some strikes. It's more of your like open world activities. Strikes are in their own playlist, but adventures and lost sectors you'll see out in the open world, and you can just go and do them.
So a lot of that's the typical. This is what they were expecting to kind of be releasing, right? This is the stuff that was kind of already on the docket. This is not like these are the things that were already going to be patched, I would presume. Not like
some of them are, and then
this is a direct like answer to the criticism.
Some of it is, and then some of it I feel like they haven't said anything about because they're still trying to figure out.
One of the biggest things is, you know, at least they're listening. At least it seems like they're listening to the community. I mean, there's feedback coming from the community. It's loud. And at least they're doing something about it. They're not just kind of like, meh.
Right.
It's good enough.